Hello. As you can see, I'm in a different location today. I'm not in my studio. I'm away doing some work, so I'm in a hotel in London, which is very, very nice. It's a little bit like a Wes Anderson set, so very up my street. And today's video, we're going to show you how we get this image that we did for Matilda Shakes, so a local band, or local if you're in Sheffield anyway. They reached out and wanted to do some photo sessions in the studio with me. Very complimentary about the style of work that I do. So it was an honour to sort of have them in. And shout out to Lily as well for being an assistant and kind of looking how the studio works and all that kind of thing as well, and really helping me out, getting things in place and, getting the settings, helping dialing the settings in for things like that. So big shout out to Lily as well. And this is how we got the shot. So this is a shot in Lightroom, and most of the work will be done in Lightroom. We're just going to do a little tweak for the sort of the crop of it basically for in Photoshop, because it's going to be for Instagram, and it's going to kind of be a bit of a tour poster, so we just want to create a bit of space so they can have the tour dates above it. So first of all, we're going to go straight into Photoshop and then come back and do some extra bits of work in Lightroom, because the Lightroom masks these days are really, really good. So we'll get the crop sorted first, and the crop's going to be your sort of usual 4x5 Instagram. So we just make this into the right size and the right shape that we want. Make sure we're happy with the layout. And then rather than generate, we're just going to use leave it as it is, basically. So we're just going to use content aware fill instead, rather than generative fill. What I found is generative fill sometimes with an image like this, the last few times I've tried it, it kind of, puts text on there, it puts weird sort of images, and it just, I don't know where it's picking that data from, but it's not for me. Maybe from the white, I know it thinks that the faces are like text or something like that. So we're just kind of going to do it the old way and just get the rectangular marquee tool, draw a box, leaving a little bit of space down at the bottom, and then just right click and use content aware fill, and then just literally draw in the bits that we want it to take it from. It would be, you could think, we'll just paint it black and we'll just do a black image and get a black brush and paint it, but there is probably a slight gradient and a slight bit of grain in there, so I want to try and match that. So which is why we're going to do like a content aware and take that bit basically. So looks pretty good from the off. What you're always kind of aware of is around here is the mask, and it's kind of copied everything just as I want it, so it's not really doing anything too bad. I am going to just sort this little black bit out here. So when we go back into Lightroom, I'll go through the details of the shot a bit more, but it's just it was a little bit of a tricky one, hence why we kind of did this shot first. So I'm just going to clean that bit up so that's black as well, and get the rest of the image in black, and then we're just going to save that and go back into Lightroom. So now we're importing into Lightroom, we've got our image and we've got the space up here that we can use for tour dates or single releases or album releases or anything like that, but the main image is down here. So the way we got this shot was I sent a mood board over with a few different images, and one of these is the ones that we really liked and we wanted to go for. It's a bit of a lift from another band, which I'm probably sure you'll know who that is, but it's something I'd not tried before. So I sent them this image and said, let's try something like this. They were very much on board, yep, that's great, that's exactly what we want. And then I kind of thought, oh well, better figure out how we do it. So black backdrop in the studio. The camera settings are ISO 320. Could have probably brought that down a little bit. Aperture's f.5 because we wanted some depth, but we didn't want to didn't want to go too dark. There's also an ND filter on there as well over the camera lens. It's a 50mm lens, and it's the Viltrox one. It was like a second-hand lens I got for like £180, so it wasn't much at all. But what we've done here is the shutter speed is at 2.5 seconds, because what we wanted is the shutter to open, all of them apart from James, who's a singer, move, and then kind of end their movement by the time the next shutter goes off or the last shutter goes off. We did use a flash. Now that obviously doesn't do anything in this because it's just not powerful enough to kind of get through, especially with the ND filter on. But it was just more of a visual cue for them. Sometimes you can't hear the first flash go, and then you hear the second one and you've not moved. So the flash literally went off first, and it was more of a visual clue to start their movement into the next bit. We did toy around with doing it individually and layering it in, but this is just literally one shot. So James stays as still as he can, and then the rest of the band have a starting position and then a moving position, and try and exaggerate their movements a little bit. So that was the camera settings. It has got a few people. It's done a really good job, and I'm really happy with how the results came out. And it was only maybe 4 or 5 attempts we did to get this, but there's just little bits where some of the lads are just a little bit darker than the others. So I've already gone ahead and masked them. Lightroom's done an incredible job of finding them all anyway, even though they're in black and the background's black and it's a black and white shot. But if we hover over each person, it's highlighted them. So we're going to select the first person, we'll use the entire person, and we'll create a mask, and we're just going to lift it a little bit really, but not too much because we don't want it to be too dark. So we might take the shadows down a bit just so we add a bit more of a contrast to it, but I just want to light him up a little bit more just so you can kind of see some of the features and still maybe keep him reasonably dark in the background. So there's little bits of tweaks here and there, lifting the blacks, maybe bringing some of the whites a touch down. So that's the first one, and then we're just going to go through the rest of the lads who need maybe a little bit more bringing into focus. There's probably only 3 out of the 2 that do, if I'm honest, so we'll bring them up a little bit. Like I say, it's really not much. It's just a little bump in exposure, and we're going to kind of dirty the frame up a little bit anyway, so we're going to use a bit of grain just to make it a bit dirtier, because we kind of wanted this to be like it's an old film photo. Obviously we've done it on digital, but we wanted it to be a bit of an old film photo basically. That looks a lot better already. So pretty straightforward, just highlighting the people who are a little bit underexposed. I really wanted James to be as sort of in focus as he can, but as you can see, he's a little bit softer than what I want to be. So we're going to go back into the mask, we'll select the other people mask, and he's already selected anyway, or he's already had a mask found for him. We'll select the entire person, just zoom out a touch, and then mainly what we're going to do with this one is just try and bring the clarity up a bit and just cheat and bring him into focus a little bit more, maybe bring the sharpness up. I'm not too worried about noise reduction because we're going to add some grain over it anyway, so it's not really going to make much of a difference. That looks a lot better. And then we're just going to add some grain in. So I'm going to go over here just so we can see what the grain's doing. I want a fair amount of grain because, like I said, we want this to be like an older style photo, and maybe just change the size and just tweak the roughness a little bit as well. But that amount of grain is probably what we're after. So there's not much in the way of editing them because it's a slow shutter speed shot, so it's kind of designed to be blurry and all that kind of thing anyway. We just did a bit of a bump of exposure on some of the other guys to bring them out who were kind of lost in the background a little bit. Added a bit of grain, expanded the canvas a bit so it can be used for socials and for posters and things like that. And that's it. That's how we edit it. It's fairly straightforward. It's not much retouching on the people. It was all about getting the shot in camera, and then we're just expanding the frame a little bit. But yeah, I'm really happy with it, and it kind of we did it first because we thought it's going to be really hard to get this, and then the contingency plan is, right, we'll do it all individually and we'll layer it in, but it kind of loses the feel. But after 5 shots we got exactly what we wanted. So yeah, shout out to these lads for being on board with it, and check them out on their socials and Twitter, and I'll link it all below, and check out the new music that they're bringing out as well. And that's it. That's how we got the shot.